How do the affiliate conversion rates work on video versus an article? Like if an article gets 50,000 views and then the corresponding video gets 50,000 views, how do they compare in terms of the people actually clicking on the links and buying the products?
Yeah, the clicks to the links are about double on video.
Wow.
Which is surprising because you kind of have to dig for it in the video description. And then the conversion rate after they click is a lot higher. I don't have the exact number on that off the top of my head, but I think the people that watch a video to the end, they're invested and they can see it. The video helps make the decision for them, or gives them trust in their own decision. And then at the end, I'll say, these products are linked below, like, thank you for your support, and people want to support, and they'll go and find them.
Hello. I'm Simon Owens, and this is The Business of Content, the show about how publishers create, distribute, and monetize their digital content. Before launching his own media company, Andrew Palermo spent years working in marketing, where he saw firsthand how affiliate deals between brands and publishers actually worked. That experience sparked the realization that many of the sites earning commissions weren't producing especially helpful or original content. In 2018, he decided to test whether he could do it better, launching the blog Prudent Reviews as a side project. He started with products he already owned, with a focus on detailed, hands-on reviews. Flash forward 8 years, and Prudent Reviews is not only one of the most authoritative home appliance review websites, but it also reaches 500,000 subscribers across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. In a recent interview, Andrew explained how his background in affiliate marketing shaped his approach to building Prudent Reviews, why Google's shifting algorithms and the rise of AI forced him to rethink his entire traffic strategy, and how video ultimately became the foundation of a more durable media brand, one that's mostly protected from AI chatbots. If you want to listen to an audio version of this show, subscribe to The Business of Content wherever you get your podcast. Okay, let's jump into the interview. Hey Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So super excited to have you on. You run this awesome website and associated social media and YouTube channels, Prudent Reviews. Really want to dive into that. I'm always fascinated with like affiliate advertising based businesses, and so that's going to be fun. So I want to start by just like hearing a little bit about your background before then, because you kind of actually, it seems like, came from the demand side of the advertising equation, where you were, I'm guessing, like creating some of these affiliate deals and stuff like that. So you kind of intricately knew kind of like both sides of the equation. So let's talk a little bit about like, how did you get into marketing? What kind of marketing were you doing? How did that lend itself to the kind of stuff that you're doing with Prudent Reviews?
Yeah, no, happy to dive in. So my first job out of college was actually at a media company, IDG, and they are a B2B tech publication. They publish sites like Computer World and Network World. Basically, the audience is IT professionals. And so that kind of gave me a look into like behind the scenes on how media companies work. At the time, we were doing a lot of lead generation for big tech companies. So they would come to our site, watch a webinar, that person would become a lead. So I kind of got a sense of what how that type of media company worked. And then a few years later,
you were working there, like what years?
That was 2009 to 2013, I believe.
Okay, so this was like the real kind of prime age of Google traffic coming in and being easy, somewhat easy to gain, totally. And there wasn't as much competition in there. So if you had some good keyword ranking, totally, you could do like a lot of lead generation. A lot of like affiliate businesses kind of started around this time.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. So after that, I moved over to the brand side at a large insurance company. And so I was on the internal marketing team there. And that was really where I got a look into the affiliate world. So, in order to drive quotes for the insurance company, we partnered with a bunch of publishers who were either helping people shop for insurance by aggregating a bunch of different insurance carriers, or they were reviewing insurance companies. And they would put a link to Liberty Mutual. People would come in, get a quote, and we would give them a commission for that quote. And so that kind of, sparked some interest. And I thought to myself, we're partnering with these websites, and I saw what the website was doing, and I thought to myself, I could do something like that.
What kind of partnerships were you doing? Like, was it like literally just you were reaching out to websites and being like, hey, you're already writing about these topics. Do you want your own like special affiliate link, or like how was that kind of partnerships formed?
A lot of it was these were insurance specific websites. So they were, and we were one of the big carriers in the space. So they would often come to us and say, hey, we want to partner with you. And we would set them up with an affiliate program. We also worked through a network that kind of helped link us up with publishers that would be a good fit. So some of it was outbound, some of it was networking and conferences and things like that. But a lot of it was inbound to us.
And how did those affiliate partnerships work? Was it like a one-time fee you would pay if they converted into a customer? Was it like for the lifetime of the customer?
It varied. A lot of times it was a fee for the quote. So the person would have to fill out a quote, get a price for the insurance, and then we would pay a fee. Other times it was a commission for an actual sale. So when someone went through and actually bought the policy, they would pay a commission. Sometimes that was one time. Sometimes there was like kind of an agency model where there's an ongoing fee every time the person renews. So that kind of got me like thinking like, oh, how does this apply to other industries? And, if I were to do anything like this, like how could I apply it myself? So that's really what kind of sparked the idea for starting Prudent Reviews.
Yeah. And I remember like all the way back in like 2004, 2005, there was like this guy named, his blog was called Pro Blogger or something like that. I forget what his actual name was, but he had like a whole bunch of different like camera review sites and stuff like that. And this was like really the early days of SEO where you could really kind of like pull information from like customer reviews and stuff like that on various websites and just kind of aggregate them. And then, if you knew your SEO chops like well enough, like you could rank pretty highly. And then, for a high price thing like a camera, obviously the affiliate fee could be pretty high. Into the 2010s, it started getting a little bit more sophisticated. Google started rewarding kind of like more original information where it was apparent that you had actually like reviewed it. This was where we saw the rise of Wirecutter, which started as like a really in-depth tech review site that did like 30 hours of testing on every single product category. Obviously that was eventually acquired by the New York Times. I forget what year that was. Now anytime I'm buying any kind of tech product, I'm always looking at Wirecutter to see what they recommend. So you're like doing this stuff behind the scenes. You're forming these deals. Did you see like what were you noticing on the media side in terms of like gaps in the market? Like you said, you were looking at other product categories and stuff like that. What was I'm trying to get into the idea of like where you saw like an opportunity that was starting to form.
Yeah. So I just started getting really interested in the affiliate space outside of my full-time job. And I started listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, learning basically like SEO. I was learning SEO and trying to teach myself like how it all worked. And in the meantime, I was looking at these other product categories, particularly home products, because I figured if I were to start somewhere, let's start with like products that I have available. And basically what I saw is what you just mentioned was there were a lot of, for lack of a better term, like scammers who were not really reviewing products. They were using pictures that you can find online. It was just really generic reviews. And some of these were actually big publications, but the content itself was not very like original. And so I said to myself, like, if I actually buy the product, if I actually test the product, take my own pictures, this should rank higher on Google. And so basically, to answer your question, I saw like low quality content. And even for myself as a solo person, I was like, I could create a better article than that. I may not be able to create as many, but I could definitely create a better one, a more helpful one for actual people.
And so you launched Prudent Reviews in 2018, correct?
Yeah, so I think I bought the domain in 2017 and like officially launched the website in January 2018.
But you still kept your full-time job for those first several years, right?
Yeah, so I operated it on the side for, I think it was 4 years until March 2022 is when I went full time with it.
So walk me through those early days. Like, did you have to just like set, like have like a budget that you put aside for buying? Because was it always like you wanted to review like almost like the Wirecutter thing of like, I'm going to pick a category like frying pans or something like that, and I'm going to order every single or all the major frying pans and test them out? Like, was that the original idea?
Not exactly. So when I started the site, I knew I'm very risk averse. And so I didn't want to invest a ton of money into it. And so, I bought the web hosting, I bought the domain, I spent about $100 setting up the website. And I started with just products in my home that I already had.
And that's always like the low-hanging fruit, is like you literally have spent over the years tens of thousands of dollars on random stuff that is probably now listed online. So if you were just looking to populate like an early blog, like you could, so you were just like, you were just looking around the room around you and be like, look at this office chair. I bought this 3 years ago on Amazon. So stuff like that.
Yeah. And I was very scrappy. One of my first reviews that actually like kind of was like, oh, this might actually work was, we had a set of all-clad cookware that we got for our wedding, and I reviewed that, and I tried to make it as more in-depth and more helpful than any other all-clad review out there, and it actually ranked #1 for all-clad review, and like, is all-clad worth it? And I was like, wow, like, I just pulled this pan out of my cabinet and took some pictures and tested it for several weeks, and took pictures of the food and everything. And so that was sort of the start of like, okay, what else can I review? And then,
so you started in 2018. How long did it take before that review like started ranking well in Google?
I basically published probably 50 reviews over the course of 6 months before I started getting any traction. So like I knew from listening to the podcast and the experts on YouTube that there was like a sandbox period where Google like just doesn't trust a brand new site. And so I said, all right, I'm going to just go at this. I don't care if I make $1 in the first year. I'm just going to publish as much as I can. And so, yeah, probably about 6 months.
And so for like, so I think like what the Amazon affiliate fee is like it's like less than 10%. How much, so once that's ranking #1, like how much revenue can like the #1 ranking on a specific product category, how much could that drive a month? Is that like $100 a month? Is that like $1,000 a month? Like what is that even to give people a concept of like what it means to rank like one product category or something?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just looking at some numbers here real quick. So obviously there's a spectrum where, your top 10 articles might make 80% of your, or your top 100 articles might make 80%. But a single article could make you thousands of dollars a month, or it could make you $100 a month. Or less if it doesn't rank. So that's kind of the risk in the business.
Yeah, so you're just basically diversifying your content across, understanding that some of the stuff will rank and other things won't, basically.
Exactly. And certain products will sell better than others, and I review a lot of products that I don't recommend. And so in those cases, they don't make a lot of affiliate revenue. And that's where ad revenue can come in, which we can talk about later or now. But just back then, was it like, and we'll talk about how you've had to transition with AI and all that kind of stuff. But back then, was it purely like Google's like doing a great job of sending traffic? I don't need to have a great brand. I just have to be trusted by Google. I'm putting 100% of my business focused on, I just want to make Google happy. Was that the idea in the early days? 100%. Especially for my type of website, so a lot of peers that I talk to and who have other types of websites, they're getting traction on Pinterest, on Facebook, with newsletters. People just aren't scrolling Facebook and are like, oh, a review on this cookware set, I'm going to stop and read it. Like, maybe a recipe, maybe something in interior design, something like that. But for a review, it's really search based. So that was my focus, and that comes with a lot of risk, and but that's sort of the game I was playing.
Yeah. I mean, like when I'm researching a topic, I will use Google, but I'm often typing in Wirecutter and then whatever the thing is. So even though I'm using Google, I'm still like, Wirecutter's brand is like, paramount there. Was that a goal of yours, or you're just people weren't really typing in prudent reviews and product category, that kind of thing? It was literally just the product itself.
In the first 4 years, until I went full time and started video, I wasn't focused on brand at all. It's just very hard to build a brand through SEO traffic. Even if they land on your site and the review is amazing and it was so helpful, like they're just moving on with their life. Like they might come back, might not. Some people will join a newsletter, but the majority of people, it's a transaction. So, but that has now become a lot more important.
So how did it evolve from these are random things I have around my house to something a little bit more strategic, where you could start setting aside some type of budget, or maybe you were just getting sent free stuff? Like how did it evolve from there?
So when I started getting some traffic from Google, and with the traffic, some revenue through Amazon affiliate and other affiliate programs, then what I did, basically to keep the budget low, what I did was I would do all the keyword research up front. I'd figure out like what topics are worth publishing on. And then I would buy a brand that I knew I could make 10 to 15 pieces of content with. So like, let's say I bought a hex-clad pan or an all-clad pan. I would make the all-clad review, and then I would make all-clad versus this, all-clad versus that, all-clad versus... I'd do that because those versus keywords are very important. People are shopping, they're trying to compare two brands directly. So I would do a lot like that. And then sometimes I would publish like how to clean X brand, or like how to prevent food from sticking to X brand,
that's
or some
like
sort of
most
informational
popular
content.
YouTube video is like a how to avoid food sticking to a stainless steel pan. So that kind of content. Yeah,
exactly.
Interesting. So every single product
you
bought was that wasn't like you were just doing it to review that product. You're like, this could be 10 different pieces of content right here.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was working a full-time job. My wife was working. This was still an experiment. We were like, we don't want to sink a bunch of money into this. Like, let's just see how it goes. There's no employees. Like, the costs are low, so let's just see how it goes.
And when did your affiliate strategy start to evolve? Because obviously anybody starting out, like, they can only really participate in these like Amazon, Best Buy type of things that anybody can claim. But from what I hear, like, once you get to a certain level, then there are either more lucrative affiliate platforms you can apply for, or you can also sometimes, especially if it's a direct-to-consumer product, like you can contact them directly and they'll give you a special affiliate code that gives you an even steeper cut. So like, how did your kind of affiliate link strategy evolve?
So pretty early on, I would obviously join Amazon and Walmart and these big retailers. But as I started to review more brands, I realized a lot of them have their own affiliate programs. And they're typically through a network. So there's a handful of networks, AWIN, Impact, Commission Junction, a few others, where if the brand sells products on their own website, they join these networks, and then publishers like me can join the networks, and we sort of find each other there. And when I publish a article, I could link to Amazon or directly to the brand. Or typically I would link to both, because you just want to give viewers options. Some people prefer to buy from Amazon, some people prefer to buy directly from the brand, whatever. And with those more direct relationships, because you do get a contact at the brand. You can reach out to them. As Prudent Review started getting bigger and more known, especially when we started on YouTube, brands would reach out to me. I probably get a dozen emails a week that are like, please join our affiliate network. Here's our offer. And those commissions are typically much higher. The conversion rate sometimes is not as high. So you're sort of balancing commission and conversion rate.
Yeah, because someone trusts Amazon, they don't necessarily trust to buy on some random website they've never heard of before.
Exactly. Yep. And I generally don't try to send people to random like brands that no one's ever heard of. They're typically like bigger brands, just because they're, the website needs to be optimized. Like it needs to be, a good, slick, user-friendly website. Otherwise, sending traffic to it is like, it just doesn't work, doesn't convert. So. And
did you eventually have to create some kind of system for what you were doing with all these products that were piling up?
It's a good question. So I've hoarded a lot of them, mainly because I want to continuously test them and then test them to other new products that I get in the future. But yeah, it started to get too much. And so we started to donate them, give them away to our audience. And I'm actually hosting we're doing like a pop-up sale where we're basically selling everything for 70% off, and donating a portion of the sales to a local charity. So that is coming up and hopefully it goes well. But a lot of times I'll keep them because it's like you want to give people a long-term review eventually, especially for like things like cookware.
So I noticed when I was looking at the articles that you have like a lot of display ads, and I know that like Google, obviously part of what it considers is like the user experience with any kind of website and stuff like that. So what necessitated the introduction of the display ads? Like, was that something that came after like the rise of AI, or was that something that was before?
I think this was about a year or so in. I had met with some other publishers who were using display ads and heard great things about this company that I now work with. And it was just an opportunity to help grow the business outside of affiliate. So to diversify and to monetize those informational articles. So like those how to or how to use certain products. It was a way to, from driving traffic there, you want to make some revenue off of it, so that you can fund products and all that stuff. So at first I thought, this is going to really hurt my affiliate sales. Like, anytime you're putting a distraction on the page, but it really didn't, at least not nearly enough to make up for the benefit. So I've had them on probably for the entirety of the site except for the first year. And it's a pretty big portion. It used to be a lot bigger, but it's a pretty big portion of the revenue. So once you put them on, it's hard to take them off.
What network did you join? The advertising network?
Mediavine.
Mediavine. Okay, yeah, I just had their CEO on the podcast a few weeks ago. How did you start scaling up from there? Because I know you like hired employees. I don't know if they were full-time employees or contractors. Like, what was the next step?
Yeah, so at a certain point, I was still working the full-time job. I was like, this is working. This is definitely going to become a full-time income. And so now it's time to invest a little bit. And so what I basically did was I hired writers, an editor, and someone to help me with research. And these were all contractors. But the way it would work is I would get the product, I would review it, I would test it, I would record all the data and information from those reviews and the testing. And then I would pass it off to what I call a content strategist. And they would help formulate that into an outline. So the sections of the article, etc. She would pass that on to a writer. They would write it. They would pass it to the editor would edit it, and then it would come back to me and I would make sure everything was accurate and publish it. So at a certain point, I think I had up to 10 contractors. And we kind of had a nice conveyor belt of content. And it was still good quality content because I was checking it along the way and I was the one doing the testing. So, it wasn't like I said, oh, go write articles, go write reviews for these products that you don't know anything about. Like, I'm testing the products and they're basically just putting it into words to help scale it.
So what year did you quit your job?
Spring of 2022.
2023, I think, is when ChatGPT made its first big splash. There's obviously been a lot of threats to these kind of affiliate sites over the years. Let's talk about the first one before we get to the AI of it all. There was a big scandal a few years back with I think the website was called Honey or something like that, the platform called Honey, where it turned out that like there was these like it was multiple companies that were getting consumers to download this plugin that would do supposedly was doing price comparisons. For like if you were on X website trying to buy a product, it would have this little pop-up saying it's cheaper on this website or whatever. And it turned out that it actually wasn't doing that. Like, I mean, sometimes it did it, but a lot of times it wasn't necessarily finding the lowest price. And then on top of that, it was at the checkout process was inserting its own. It was taking out the affiliate link of whoever had linked to it and was inserting its own affiliate link and basically siphoning off all this affiliate revenue from all these websites that were basically sending these products. What was your your awareness of this, and did you actually see this like meaningfully like affect your revenue or anything like that?
So I didn't know about it until all the YouTube videos came out on it, like exposing it. So at that point I was like, wow, this probably is affecting me. Fortunately, like the brands that I recommend the most weren't using it that I'm aware of. So I don't know how much it actually affected me, but like, yeah, it was a pretty shady tactic that they did, which essentially, even if it wasn't a better price, they would still pop up the thing and it would drop the cookie in the browser. And so,
so there wasn't some like inexplicable drop in affiliate revenue that where the traffic hadn't changed. Like we'll talk about the AI in a second, but the traffic hadn't changed, but suddenly the conversions like slowed down or anything like that. You saw?
I didn't see that, but it could be just it just could have not been on the sites that I was sending traffic to. So I didn't see that in my data.
Okay, so let's talk about, so we're going to be talking about a few subjects here. We're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about YouTube and video and stuff like that. I'm going to warrant a guess that those two things are related because I talk to a lot of affiliate publishers and they talk about, segueing away from Google traffic and towards like something that's a little bit more brand forward. So people are seeking me out specifically kind of thing. So I guess I'll kind of start with an open-ended question. Is 2023 happens, this like paradigm shift with chatbots started happening. Suddenly people were doing product reviews or product research within these various chatbots. What did you start noticing within your own traffic, and then talk about like how you started to kind of adapt your business at that point?
Yeah. So this was a major shift, as you know. But before ChatGPT and Gemini and all these came out, there was software, I think it was called Jasper or Jarvis, one of those, where it wasn't nearly as good as ChatGPT, but publishers started using it to create articles at scale. And I was not using it, but I knew a lot of people in the space. They would spin up a website and they would have 1,000 articles on it in a month. And, it's taken me 4 years to write 500. So they were flooding Google with basically garbage reviews, made up reviews. They were scraping images. They were stealing a lot of my images. And so I think that alerted Google to say, these affiliate sites, we don't know what's real and what's fake. And so they started penalizing a lot of affiliate sites the good ones and the bad ones.
Yeah, and so I saw this as there's coverage of these. Like, I've been covering this specific niche for 10 years. I'm an expert, and now suddenly this, like, Forbes.com, which has no expertise in this, they're suddenly ranking for all these keywords, even though all they're doing is just aggregating they're aggregating my content and others. They don't even have expertise in that, and yet Google has given
exactly.
Okay, so that's what happened, right?
Exactly. And so, there were times where Google would announce an algorithm update and I would check my numbers the next day and my site dropped 50%. And then 3 weeks later, they kind of figured out like, oh, this guy's, Prudent Reviews is actually legit. Then it would go back up. So it was like a roller coaster. And then after all of this is happening, ChatGPT comes out. And I think this might have been the fall of 2023. And then Google quickly says, all right, we're now going to summarize. We're going to do AI overviews at the top of every Google search. And that was another blow of like, people don't really need to go to websites now, or they think they don't need to go to websites now because they're getting a summary at the top of every search. So long story short, like those two things, Google's lack of trust in affiliate sites, or I shouldn't say affiliate sites, review sites, coupled with people using ChatGPT and people not clicking on websites on Google, put a huge dent in my traffic to my website. Luckily, this was 2023. The spring of 2022 is when I started YouTube. So I sort of had a little bit of a head start on building a new channel that isn't really reliant on Google as much.
And was that on purpose? Google, like you were seeing something, the writing on the wall, or it was just something you're like, when I quit my job, I'm finally going to have, the opportunity to expand into this thing I wanted to do anyway?
It was a little bit of both. I didn't totally see the writing on the wall. I thought, if I get hit with a Google algorithm update, I might drop 40% or 50%, and even then it would be okay. But I didn't anticipate it dropping 90%. So that, and I knew when I shop for certain products, I want to see it in a video. Like I don't necessarily, like pictures and words aren't really enough. Like I want to actually see the person holding it, using it. And so I knew that had to be part of my business. And so I just didn't realize it would become the main part so quickly. I thought it was going to be the website keeps growing and the YouTube grows along with it, but I had to pivot pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just talk about long form for now. We'll talk about short form in a little bit. But so for your long term video, you launched this in 2022. So how did your editorial process change? I can tell that you're very efficient in your workflows and stuff like that. So my guess is that any type of article has a corresponding video. So this versus that, there's going to be an article, but that's also an easy video to create. So I'm guessing you created a process so that you're using every part of the buffalo here. So talk me through the editorial process you developed that included long form YouTube videos.
In the beginning or now?
I think just talk about in the beginning and how it evolved.
And evolves, yeah. So in the beginning, I basically looked at my top performing articles and said, okay, these are the ones that people care most about. They're getting the most traffic on the website. And then I went and created videos on them. And I did further testing. Obviously I had to film everything. I didn't have video footage already. So, I had to refilm everything, retest everything. And so I started that way. But on the video side, it's much more difficult to create a video than it is to create an article. And it's a lot more difficult to outsource parts of that because, you need people locally, if you need help with filming or, production, things like that. So for video, I basically did everything myself. And I did hire an editor. I still do have an editor who helps trim the content, but I'm editing it. I'm putting all the clips together. So even now, years later, I'm still basically doing the whole video production myself. And yeah, started with the low-hanging fruit. like the best performers on my website. And then I've since moved on as I've learned more about YouTube and like what works differently on YouTube versus a website. I've definitely pivoted. So like, for example, I would never publish, not never, but I wouldn't actively publish like a best stainless steel cookware article on my website. And the reason why I wouldn't do that is because it's such a competitive keyword. So like Wirecutter, America's Test Kitchen, like all these huge publications are ranking for that. But if I create that for YouTube and I make a really good quality video testing all the brands, that will get a good amount of views on YouTube. And so it's a little bit, you can kind of compete based on the quality of content on YouTube versus like your history and reputation and like how much authority you've built up over decades, if that makes sense.
So you started with your highest traffic articles. Did you then go back and embed those videos into those articles?
Yes.
Yeah. And did that give like you any kind of real boost? Like I've heard mixed things about how much like, you know, people will say most of the traffic to YouTube videos comes within YouTube. Like you really don't give that much of an extra boost from linking to it in your newsletter or whatever. What was it? What kind of, in terms of your growth of your channel, what did you see?
Yeah, so I would embed it on the website, and I would link to the article in the video description on YouTube. And that does send some traffic to the website, but people who are on the website reading an article, they tend to not want to watch a video. So it didn't really help from an SEO perspective. Like I didn't see like a jump in rankings by embedding the video.
So in terms of like the growth of the YouTube channel, what did that line graph look like? How quickly did you start, you know, ranking well and start seeing traffic to your videos?
I think I got really lucky, to be honest with you, because I think it was my 5th or 6th video, I'll have to go back and look, was that how to prevent food from sticking to stainless steel. And that one blew up. You know, it got me monetized on YouTube. It got me my first 10,000 subscribers. And people were arguing over whether I burnt the egg in the video. So that was like kind of a lucky mistake that I made. I did a tutorial and like, you know, some people like their egg a certain way, other people don't. And so people just started this like debate in the comments, and that helped blow it up. But besides that one-off video, like it's been a steady trajectory. I haven't had like too many like viral videos per se. It's been, you know, a steady upward trend. I think right now I'm averaging about 10,000 subscribers a month. So it's a pretty steady amount. But I haven't had that like 10 million view video that, you know, got me 50,000 subscribers or anything like that. It's been slow.
So as you've grown on YouTube, what have you noticed about your relationship to your audience versus, you know, just the website content? Because like you said, it was hard to build a brand on a website only. Most were coming through Google. What did you notice once you started posting videos? Did your relationship or like people like ability to seek out prudent reviews versus other, like how did that all change?
It's completely night and day. So I realized quickly that video, the connection to the audience with video is about 100 times stronger than through the articles. And it makes sense. People see me, they see the work that I put in to test all these products. You know, they see that I'm legitimate. I'm not trying to fool them, or, you know, I'm showing my work. But in terms of evidence, like all of a sudden I was getting a lot more emails from people saying, which should I buy? Like I need help, that sort of thing. My branded search traffic went way up. So people were starting to Google prudent reviews and come directly to me. The conversion rate to my newsletter. So I have a newsletter where I email people when the brands that I recommend go on sale. So, you know, All Clad, Made In, whoever launches a sale, I shoot it over to my newsletter so that they can get a deal. That conversion went way up. Yeah, so pretty much all the engagement metrics went up, and then with YouTube, as you know, people comment on the videos. So I was getting a ton of comments, a ton of feedback, people saying, you should review this, you should review that. People tagging me in other people's videos saying, check out this guy. If someone posts a video on TikTok and says, I'm looking for cookware, I hate this stuff that I've been using, they'll tag me and send people over. So it's just night and day. Like, people are way more engaged when they sit and watch you for 12 minutes over and over again, versus like coming to your website from Google.
And do you feel like that's an effective moat against AI? Because like I've had people on my podcast who are just like, the value of information is going down because, information has become commoditized. So like the media that people will seek out is your specific take, your specific opinion, your specific analysis. Like brand will, the strongest brands, they're the ones who are going to continue to thrive. How does that make you, do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, totally. I think, still a large portion of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. I think that's normal for YouTube, but a good portion of them are. So people definitely want to see what I have to say about certain things. And that absolutely is a moat against AI. And especially in the AI, especially like, because AI is so good at creating text and creating like these videos, like I feel like in the review space, hopefully people are not going to want to watch a fake AI generated person review products. Like that seems like,
a bridge
who knows,
too far, yeah.
In 5 years from now. Yeah, it's like, okay, do I want to buy something that some bot told me to buy?
Yeah,
like,
you want someone,
I don't think so.
An actual human that tested it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for certain categories, like video is still at risk with AI, but I think hopefully in the review space, they wanted to learn from humans. So building the brand and also producing content that AI can't produce. And then like if you watch some of my more popular reviews, like it takes me weeks to do a video. So I'm not just like sitting in front of a desk holding the product and talking about it. I'm testing it for weeks. I have multiple reviews ongoing at once so that I can test things over time. And each video is probably 5 hours of footage cut down to 8 minutes. So not that many, like there are other people who review products on YouTube that do a great job. I'm not saying I'm the best. Just saying the amount of work that I put into the review to make it helpful, very few people would want to do. And I think you have to be a little crazy to do. So hopefully those things are helping me, long term.
And is your business still a largely affiliate-based business? Like obviously you have affiliate links in the description of each YouTube video. Is that still the main driver of your business? It's just transferred a lot from like website to YouTube?
Yeah, it's about a third. It's about a third advertising. So the banner ads on my website and the YouTube AdSense ads, the pre-roll ads on the videos. And the majority of the rest is affiliate. And then I have been growing sponsorship revenue. And what I mean by that is not the companies that I'm reviewing are paying me. Definitely not that. But I've started doing ad reads for totally unrelated product categories. So like GoDaddy or Masterclass or some workout equipment. Like I'll do a 1 minute spot in the YouTube video. And those advertisers will pay me a fee for that. But I don't take sponsorships from like any of the kitchenware products that I review. But that's just a way to like kind of supplement, help me pay for more products and diversify a little bit.
Yeah. How do the affiliate conversion rates work on video versus an article? Like if an article gets 50,000 views and then the corresponding video gets 50,000 views, how do they compare in terms of the people actually clicking on the links and buying the products?
Yeah. The clicks to the links are about double on video.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, which is surprising because you kind of have to dig for it in the video description. But and then the conversion rate after they click is a lot higher. I don't have the exact number on that off the top of my head, but I think people, like the people that watch a video to the end, they're invested, and they can see it. The video helps make the decision for them, or gives them trust in their own decision. And then at the end, I'll say, these products are linked below. Like, thank you for your support, and people want to support, and they'll go and find them. Also, I'll mention that these platforms, especially YouTube, they're starting to integrate affiliate into the platform. So YouTube has its own affiliate. So there's like little links that show up on the site or on the screen as people are watching. So there's multiple opportunities.
And you get a cut YouTube. Of that you opt into that. Yeah. But it has to be like through their, like, it's not like you can, if you have some custom affiliate link, you can't put that into the video itself.
No, it's their own program. But they have they have almost everyone. Yeah, they have almost everything on there. And it's a good user experience, but I just try to give people as many options as they want. You can click here, you can go in the pinned comment in the video description. Like, it's available, you can't really miss it. If the video is valuable to you, this is how we run the channel, and people understand that.
Yeah. So you also have like a robust like short form operation now. So I think you had like over, I forget how many thousands of people following you on TikTok, Instagram. You also do YouTube Shorts. Obviously, like, I feel like short form. So one, Instagram and TikTok doesn't allow hyperlinks within the videos themselves. Most people are on mobile, and I'm guessing mobile has the lowest conversion rate anyway, because they're researching, they want to do it on their desktop, and it's easier to buy things on their desktop. Yep. And then TikTok and Instagram don't really share much revenue. Like, TikTok shares a little bit of revenue with creators, but it's nowhere near as lucrative. So what's your kind of approach to short form, and how do you think about that in terms of like how it fits into your business?
It's a good question. It's one that I struggle with because of the reasons you mentioned. Like, monetizing those and getting an ROI on your time is not nearly as high as long form video. But basically my strategy is, I have all this content already. There's a certain segment of audience that just wants to watch the short form. They don't have time for a 10-minute video. They just want the 1-minute version. And so I basically cut my long forms into short forms. I've done it a few different ways where I totally create a different script for the short form, like a custom short form script. And lately I've been basically using the intro of my video and the conclusion of my video and cutting out everything in the middle and making that a short, because that really has all the the key context. It's definitely more helpful to watch the long form, but like just cutting out the middle, changing the aspect ratio, publishing it. This is something that I don't know that many people that do this, and I'm in a peer group and I keep telling them to do this. And I don't think they've listened to me yet, but I post my long forms on TikTok. So I'll post a long form horizontal video, 12-minute video on TikTok. I'll put a little text at the top with kind of a title, and people can turn their phone and watch the whole video. And those videos do better than the vertical videos, which is hard to believe. But I have several videos that I've published on YouTube, like long form videos that are, get 100,000 views, and I'll post them on TikTok and they'll get 1 million.
Okay, so you're taking the YouTube, the long form video file, you're uploaded to TikTok. So TikTok obviously it used to have like only 90 seconds or whatever it was, but now they've
can go up to 60 minutes.
It can now go up to 60 minutes. And you upload it to TikTok, and if you're watching it vertically, it just like kind of cuts like off the sides or something like that. Or
there's like there's black space on the top and bottom, and I'll put a little text there that's like, I tested the 27 fry pans.
But they can't see the whole thing, or is it just a shrunk down version where they actually can see the whole thing? But to get the optimal user experience, they have to turn it or something like that.
They can see the whole thing, but it's small. And then there's a little button that says full screen. They can turn their phone and watch watch it full
So
screen.
you're just uploading that full 12-minute video or something like that, and it's doing really well on TikTok, because TikTok wants longer and longer videos, and it's trying to incentivize that. So like for those TikTok videos, like how are you monetizing that?
That's the problem. So I get monetization through TikTok's creator rewards. So they'll pay me for views. You can link to products in the TikTok shop. I've never had any success with that though. Excuse me. So I think with TikTok shop, it's really more catered towards like viral type of products, like gadgets, like this crazy thing. Like it's not for regular products. If you catch my drift, but so yeah, I'm monetizing it through the creator rewards mainly. I've done a few like sponsorships on TikTok, so like having the audience there is good. And then also I link in my bio on TikTok, which drives traffic to my website. It's not a ton, but it's something. It's better than nothing.
Does TikTok give you meaningful revenue share? Like is that just a rounding error?
It's enough to repurpose my content on there. It's not enough to make like specific TikTok content.
What about YouTube Shorts? Because obviously that has a better, more clearly defined revenue share. Have you seen that on your AdSense revenue? Have you seen a meaningful increase from YouTube Shorts?
YouTube Shorts makes up a very small amount of revenue. Like, just to give you a sense, I might see a $15 RPM on long form, or revenue per 1,000 view. On short form, it might be 20 cents. And of course, the views are different. It's, it might be a 5-second view. Like it's not apples to apples, but the revenue from AdSense is low. However, you can link to products on YouTube Shorts through YouTube's affiliate program, and you can link to your long form video on YouTube Shorts. So people will watch the short. I'll tell them in the comments, for all the context and all the testing, watch the full video. And I don't know if this is true, but the theory is that people who watch your shorts are going to get served your longs more likely. So if you get a short that goes viral and gets a few million views, the chance that one of your long will show up on their homepage when they log in is higher. So it's sort of like an advertisement for the long form.
If you see a short go viral, will you see a meaningful uptick in subscriptions to the main YouTube channel?
Yeah. Yep.
So even though it's not,
it drives subscribers.
Okay. So since you started doing YouTube Shorts, you've seen faster growth on YouTube overall.
Yep.
Makes sense. And then Instagram, Are you seeing anything meaningful there?
I could not figure out Instagram for a long time. I was getting nothing on it, even though I was posting the same videos. Recently, it started to pick up, and Instagram allows this thing called ManyChat. You've probably heard of. Basically, comment this word, and I'll send you. So I'll post, and I'll say comment pan, and I'll send you a link to the winning pan. And people do that. Doesn't convert very well, for me at least, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, to answer your question about the shorts, it doesn't have a big impact on my business right now. It's more of like building the brand, getting prudent reviews out there more, feeding the algorithms that I exist and that I'm legitimate, and ultimately driving them to my website and YouTube and newsletter.
And so it wouldn't really make sense for you to launch something that's like more kind of direct viewer revenue, like subscriptions or trying to sell an ebook or anything like that, right?
I've thought about it. I think the only way it makes sense for a membership is if I were to give that membership like exclusive content, like behind the scenes testing, or raw unedited stuff. And I just don't I just don't want to do that. Like it's just opening up a can of worms of work.
Yeah.
And so,
but that's not like that much more of a value add. That's just kind of maybe to generate some extra revenue, like from your super fans, which for you is probably just not worth it. Like at the end of the day, like you were a product focused, media site. So the more you can just focus on driving, in some ways it's like the purest form of commerce is like you're talking about a product that someone is looking to buy, so you might as well just continue focusing on that. So when you look ahead like 2 to 3 years from now though, like what would you like to be doing then that you're not doing now?
It's a good question. So I think focus has been one of my things that I'm trying to stick to, and every time I think about this and I start brainstorming, I end up wasting a lot of time. But my 1 year, 2 year focus is to just keep growing the channel. Like basically if I continue doing what I'm doing, the channel will get bigger. Every video that I publish will go to a bigger audience. I'll be able to help more people. Ultimately, I would like to build my team a little bit to take a little bit of pressure off myself. I would like to get someone else on screen, not to replace me, but maybe they take a different product category.
Well, that was my next question is do you want to expand into new product categories? Because right now you're still you're still home appliances mostly, right?
Yeah, I'm mainly in the kitchen still, doing cookware, knives, small appliances. And yeah, I keep getting people saying, do this tech product or do other products. Do all these other products. And I definitely want to, but I need to, there's so many things I still haven't tested in this space. And I have all of this historical knowledge of how does this brand compare to that brand. So when I bring in new kitchen brands, I have a database of things to compare it to. So yeah, new categories eventually. I would definitely like to have someone come in. I do everything out of my home, so I would like to get a space kind of like a studio space where I have all the testing equipment and everything. So yeah, just slowly
Do you think could you see yourself renting a warehouse / studio space to house all the products and stuff like that?
Maybe. I mean, I've intentionally designed the business to be kind of a lifestyle, solopreneur type of business because, I coach my kids' sports, I pick them up at the bus stop. I don't want to be managing 30 people. That's not my end goal. And it's been working this way. And so I'm don't grow just to grow. I want to keep it manageable. And, but yeah, I definitely, like I said, I'm doing all the video stuff. I need to hire at some point. But it's tough. It's your work. You're putting it out there. People trust me. As much as they trust the brand, they really are, they see me in all the videos. So hiring someone to kind of expand needs to be the right person, needs to be, in line with me. So.
Okay, Andrew, those were all the questions I had for you. Where can people find you online?
PrudentReviews.com, Prudent Reviews on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, I'm very accessible. Email me if you have questions, and happy to help.
Awesome. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much, Simon. Appreciate it.